Okay, how did I become an acupuncturist? Well, I went to a practical Catholic all-girls high school, and there was a big emphasis on what you're going to do, what your vocation would be, i.e., of course, what your career would be, but also the emphasis was on how you'll make a positive contribution to the world. And at that time, I don't know how it came about, but I thought I wanted to be an acupuncturist. So I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and there was a acupuncture school that I looked into, OCOM, which recently closed, but it was a well-known school. And I looked into it when I was in high school and realized that it was a master's program. And at that point, I think I was a junior in high school, and going to undergrad school and then graduate school, it felt like it was a million miles away. So I progressed with my life and was interested in herbology and natural health, certainly all throughout that time, but ended up getting a college degree, an undergrad degree in environmental education, and ended up working after college as a volunteer manager with the Girl Scouts. And one of the inspirations there was all of the women I worked with, mostly it was women, had extracurricular things that they did. And so a couple of them were in bands, they played music, and others were into self-encounter, life evolution kind of work. And I decided at that time that I wanted to study energy work. And I loved it. It was really fun. It was maybe sort of like Reiki, but it was hands-off healing. And although I would have loved to figure out how to make a career of that, I couldn't figure out how to ask people to pay me to wave my hands over their body and make them feel better. But out of that, one thing leads to the next. I met a woman at the energy healing workshop, and we became friends. And she said to me, 6 or 7 years after high school, she said, I think I'm going to go to acupuncture school. And that was a trigger. It reminded me that I wanted to go to acupuncture school at some point too. So I called her a week or so after we had that conversation, and I said, I think I want to go to acupuncture school too. Would you think I was copying you if I wanted to go too? And she said, no, you would not be copying me. That would be great. You should come. She lived in Florida. And a curious aside is that I had been told by a Vedic astrologer that I would have opportunities to have an advanced education, but I would go east to learn. And so I looked into OCOM again, the acupuncture school here, but looking at the periodicals, it just didn't grab me. And with the idea of going to Florida, I was captivated by this. This was like really interesting to me. So I got all of my work in order, and I went to Florida to go to acupuncture school. I'll also say that shortly after I graduated from high school, I had a friend who his father was an acupuncturist, and my friend broke his spine. He was mountain biking, and he broke his back and was in the hospital, and the doctor said that he would never walk again. But his father, who is a longtime acupuncturist, I think he became an acupuncturist like the year I was born in 1974. His dad took that information and said baloney or something like it, and he went to the hospital and gave my friend acupuncture every day. And within a relatively remarkably short period of time, 6 weeks or so, my friend was not only walking again, but he decided in hospital that he wanted to be an arborist and that he would spend his career climbing trees. So that definitely was a profound revelation and spoke to the power of the medicine. I'll also throw out that when I was in college, just after I graduated from college, before I remembered acupuncture as a possibility for myself, I was really depressed. Actually, I came home from college expecting to get a good job and start saving money for a new car and a house and all those things, and it felt like at the time, which was I guess late 90s. All of the things that I had done and worked in college were available to me, but larger career stuff seemed like it was really far off in the distance. And so I came home from school, undergrad school in Arizona, and I was depressed, and ended up going to OCOM, the acupuncture school here, for treatments. And my first experience with acupuncture as a recipient was lying to the practitioner. I said that I had really low energy, which was true, but he asked me about 3 times if I was depressed, and I guess I was cautious or afraid to admit the truth that I was depressed, and so I just said, no, it's just low energy, low energy. He's like, are you sure you're not depressed? I'm like, no, I'm not depressed, it's just low energy. But he gave me a treatment, and I went home. I think it was on a Friday, and I went home and I cried for 48 hours. I mean, I woke up and then that morning and I cried, and I hardly ate anything, and I cried, and I went to bed crying, and then I woke up the next morning and I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried. And my takeaway from that was 2 things. One, not to lie to my practitioners, and also that, holy shit, like, there is something to this. And it was like the floodgates just opened, and I needed to cry, obviously. But this is how I found acupuncture. Have you experienced acupuncture? What was your experience like? Would you be willing to try it? I feel like I should also say that I have never had a patient come back saying that they cried for 48 hours, because even if they say that they're not depressed, I always at a point to make sure that the energy flows smoothly, and that one need not go through a 48-hour deluge of tears.